So we've covered a fair bit in introducing you to water-sensitive urban design. I'd like to just conclude on behalf of Frederick and I with a few little ideas. The first is that we know there are lots of names around this broad concept, but it really is one concept, and it's one concept about trying to engineer back into the urban landscape the type of water cycle that existed before we urbanised it. So that doesn't mean getting rid of all urbanisation, etc., but trying to recreate some of those behaviours, trying to allow some infiltration, trying to promote evapotranspiration, trying to reduce the amount of water we import from other areas by harvesting water, recycling water, etc. So this means it's important we think about the principles, not just about the labels and the names. We think a little bit about the principles underpinning those, and we get agreement from all of the stakeholders on what those principles and objectives are. As we've seen, there are many available technologies. Importantly, unlike the toolkit you might have in your workshop, we can make hybrid tools too. We can combine a swale with a bioretention system or a wetland with an infiltration system. And so we have a lot of flexibility, again, all driven by what are the objectives we're trying to achieve. We also now have increasingly available technologies to underpin the long-term operation and maintenance of these systems. Sensor technologies, control technologies, communication technologies. And I'd encourage you to have a look at the Mind for Stormwater website, where you'll see some of the work that Frederick is leading to develop these. These are really important technologies because, as I've identified, perhaps the biggest challenge worldwide to the rollout and development of water-sensitive urban design is the long-term monitoring and maintenance. All of the owners of those assets, particularly councils, etc., say that if they can't be confident that they can monitor and maintain it in a cost-effective way in the long term, then they don't want to take on these assets. So this is really important. And lastly, I'll just conclude with the observation that all of these systems are broadly using nature as an inspiration, which is why we often now hear the term nature-based solutions. And so I'd encourage you to think about, what are the lessons from nature? What is nature doing to the urban water cycle? How does nature run the urban water cycle? The water cycle, and how can we engineer that into the urban landscape? I thank you very much for your attention, and I wish you all the best in your water-sensitive urban design journey.